morning and welcome back to Act Locally Live. I'm Elizabeth Riley, your host with Act Locally Waco. Today, it's Thursday, September 4th, 7:30 in the morning, and it is Throwback Thursday, where I'm going to share stories from Waco's eventful history and rehash the past, because that's what I'm good at. I love going over all the nitty-gritty details. We're going to be talking about recognizable sites, honorable names, and the forgotten stories of who, what, when, where, and why Waco came to be. So before we get into all of that, shout out to the artists who have been so graciously donating the beautiful pieces behind us. Debbie Miller out of Corsicana at Debbie Rose Miller on Instagram, or you can find her online studio at debbiemillerstudio.com. This one over here, this beautiful abstract piece, is from Russell Campbell, right out of Waco. You can find him on Instagram at russtone.art, and all of these pieces are for sale. They're all available. So if you're interested, you can either message me or either of these artists individually. So today is Throwback Thursday, where we talk about Waco's history. And if I could go back to school right now for totally free, which I don't want to do. I was so burnt out. Thank God I graduated. I would study history over and over and over again. It's always been an interest of mine. I was in 5th grade reading thick novels that were just like collections of letters from the Civil War, and there's like first-hand accounts from both sides. I was a nerd, okay? I was fascinated with history and just the preservation of it, and that just grew over time. I was always visiting the historic sites in my hometown. I'm from Tennessee, so there's a lot of history there. But right up the road was the Battle of Franklin, and there were tons of different homes that were preserved, and you could go and hear the stories. I was also road tripping to iconic places in American history, like the Gettysburg, where the Battle of Gettysburg was, Appomattox, where the Civil War was ended and the contracts were signed. I was stopping at historic markers that we spotted on the side of the road, even like the D-Day Memorial, National D-Day Memorial in Bedford, Virginia. That was just a random stop, and I was like, oh my goodness. 11-year-old me was freaking out. Why? Nerd. So while I was at Baylor, I still was able to fuel a little piece of this history passion by working at the Institute for Oral History as a transcription assistant. And I loved my time there. I had my hands on so many different recordings, listening and transcribing them. Learned so much. It was literally like I was just listening to podcasts and getting paid for it. But there were just so many good pieces. Like there was one recording collection that they had that was from the 70s, and it had still not been transcribed by anybody because they were deep Texan cattle ranchers talking in the car, and nobody could understand their like thick southern draws, and they had to bring me in. They had to bring the big guns in. Okay, I heard them. I love dialects. Anything in the South I could try to understand for you. One time my sophomore year roommate she was from Louisiana, and after an eventful night out, my other roommate and I were sitting in the kitchen trying to eat some grilled cheese, and he comes in and he starts talking, and that Cajun accent. Wow. Well, my other roommate was from California, and she got up and left in the middle of conversation. I was like, where'd you go? And she was like, I couldn't understand him, and my head was killing me trying to figure out what he was saying. So it's just something about, you gotta have it or you don't. But I loved being able to do that for the Institute for Oral History and just learning so much about cattle ranchers in the 70s and all of that. But I think that the passion for history deeply overlaps with the skills found in English literature and writing, which is what I did study and what I love. I'm happy I did. Because you have to read so much to be a good historian. The first thing that we learn in writing is to take nothing at face value, and that a story has undergone changes through time, that the author or the historian has particular feelings on something that changes the perspective, or half the freaking story is missing because the winner writes history, right? Yeah, okay. Reading and writing is a newly standardized practice. Literacy is a privilege. and a power that used to be locked behind walls for the rich and religious rulers. Okay? So nuance and critical thinking are just absolutely necessary when approaching anything in English literature, writing, or history. So I like how all of those overlap. It's also very interesting to me that history is a never-ending production. Technically, yesterday is history. The events that happened then will be recorded somehow. And, what I said 5 minutes ago is history. But what matters is how we preserve it, how we talk about it, and with whom we share it. So I did a pretty sick community project while I was in college. We had the choice to choose between an archival or ethnographic project. Archival being like a historic search. You would get into like the preserved archives materials and try and find a story, piece things together. Well, instead, I chose to do the ethnographic research in which you like fully immerse yourself in a community. And yeah, everyone expected me to do archival because I love history. That's one of my big passions, and everybody knows that. But I chose to go observe my fellow Wacoans who open up their front yards for Baylor football tailgate parking. Baylor football games, Baylor football tailgate parking. Oh my goodness. I grew up in SEC culture. And like we were tailgating high school games. So coming to the Big 12 was a little bit of a shock, at SEC schools, you have like RV migrations. And when you're walking through, you've got people who you've never seen before calling your name, and they're offering you food and drinks, and you're greeted with hugs. And that was a bit of a culture shock changing up coming here to a Baptist school. I think it also, this is just thoughts, just rambling. It could be a post-COVID societal effect where not many people are chomping to collect people off the street and meet them and feed them. But there's just a lack of alcohol flowing here in the Big 12, even at the frats. It's kind of pathetic. But outside of the tailgating and sailgating culture at Baylor, there's still a large part of the local community that's been affected by ongoing events at Baylor, McLean, etc. And I dove into this little slice of Waco. It's East Waco, technically, but it's cut off by the Brazos and 35. So it's located directly across from McLean, across from MLK. And these people are selling out their front yards for football games, and they offer cheaper parking than Baylor has to offer. And it's closer to the tailgate tents and sometimes closer to the entrances of the stadium than the parking that Baylor has to offer. Also, hot take, I think that it's safer for all students to park in these homes than cross main thoroughfares of traffic. They're coming from Timbuktu, crossing 35, crossing University, crossing LaSalle, and all while you have these frat boys with big ass trucks and blinding lights. Like, come on now, let's protect our people. So I went into this little slice of East Waco, started chatting people up, asking questions as I do, and I opened a whole can of worms regarding Baylor's building history, the move to McLean, and what was left after Floyd Casey. Well, just yesterday, Cordova Springs announced their housing project that aims to repurpose the old Floyd Casey Stadium lot with more than 260 single-family homes and 96 multifamily homes. Cordova Springs home builder Steve Sorrell spoke to 6 News, and he said that when the stadium went away, it left a hole in the middle of Waco. And it left those houses around there with some pretty severe economic devastation, which is what I discovered during my research, because these Wacoans couldn't sell their street space or their lots for game day parking anymore. So Sorrell told News 6 that the city of Waco is also investing $25 million into a park in the same area, and construction is expected to start late this month and finish by 2030. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that Waco is going to look fantastic, and thank God they are doing the infrastructure updates now, along with the building growth, because my hometown, the Tennessee Department of Transportation could learn a thing or two, please. So we're talking about the move from Floyd Casey to McLean today, and how it wasn't the first time that Baylor screwed over Wacoans. Let's get into it. Let's rehash it. I want to talk about it. So, urban renewal programs became a thing in the mid-US in the mid 20th century, and the city of Waco had the largest urban renewal project, the largest in the state of Texas. Oh my goodness. There's a lot to cover, and I'm going to tell you all about it right after this break.
Everyone is born with different gifts and skills. Everyone is unique and has something that only they can offer this world. And everyone has different needs that help them accomplish their day-to-day goals and challenges. But there's one thing that everyone needs, no matter who they are. Breathe cleaner. Puro Air.
Every dog deserves a second chance in a loving home. And you brew Grounds and Hounds, you're helping to fund that second chance for a rescue pup in need. They'll brew a second cup, and let's change the world for every pup. One cup at a time. Visit us at groundsandhoundscoffee.com.
With over 50 years in the industry, Arriva Hospitality Group has been delighting guests with unforgettable experiences across Mexico. Our investors enjoy trust and impressive returns, while our guests, whether on vacation or business, keep coming back for more fun and memories. At Arriva Hospitality Group, we are looking for investors who share our dream of making people happy while our investments grow. Take a closer look at arrivahotels.mx.
I just got my Colgate Advanced LED Whitening Treatment in the mail, and I am very excited to have dramatically whiter teeth in just 10 days. My teeth are going to be 6 shades whiter. The treatment is enamel safe and hassle-free. It's even designed for my sensitive teeth. Let's open it up. Inside we have the blue light whitening device. It's a charger for after each treatment as well. There's a full 10-day supply, and it looks easy to apply. Order yours today at shop.colgate.com.
Welcome back to Act Locally Live. I'm your host, Elizabeth Riley. Today we are getting into urban renewal programs in the mid-20th century in Waco. There was a lot that happened here. Cities throughout the country were seeking to improve their local architecture and expand residential areas by purchasing and decimating pre-existing neighborhoods, often a process that was often referred to as slum clearance. The city of Waco conducted the largest urban renewal program in the state of Texas, which was intended to redesign and improve city infrastructure. Okay, let's get into it. Between 1958 and 1978, the Urban Renewal Agency of the city of Waco, along with federal government and local officials, created a master plan to redevelop 10 areas of Waco. They have 10 different maps that laid over the city, and this was like their development plan. In 1957, the first project was launched, and it was a partnership with Baylor University that focused on the renewal of land adjacent to the school's campus. Well, there were people living there. There were homes there. In the summer of 1958, Waco and Baylor declared the homes, businesses, churches, and other buildings near the Brazos River as slums in need of clearance. So the city held a public vote for the Baylor University project, which received a huge vote of approval. But that's because the city of Waco changed voting requirements on the day of voting that declared only property owners as eligible voters, when 70% of the residents in the area deemed a slum rented their home. Not to mention, this change of voting came to an area where most of the homes were belonging to Black Wacoans. Screams voter suppression, if you ask me. Ooh, after the election, Waco and Baylor plan to construct a park, residential housing, highways, and expand Baylor's campus in the area. Residents in the area appeared before city councils in 1958 to obviously protest the confiscation of their homes. Like, hey, why would you do this? Why would we be kicked out? We didn't vote on this. We didn't have a chance. We didn't have a voice here. And the expansion of Baylor, which still refused entry to Black students at this time, by the way, remained central to their argument. And Waco and Baylor ignored those residents' complaints and completely moved forward with the urban renewal project. So, the city and the university plan to remove 187 homes from the area, resulting in the relocation of 209 families and 50 individuals, the majority of whom were people of color. Residents and advocates for those within the bounds of that first urban renewal project gathered to protest yet again a year later in 1959. Overflowing into the corridors of City Hall, hundreds of protesters blocked county members, and church members objected to the movement in their congregational spaces, and property owners were literally like physically resisting the seizure of their homes. And Fred Finch, a prominent NAACP lawyer, objected to the area's classification as a slum and noted that many residents would never be able to purchase another home because of these actions. And resident after resident followed Fred Finch and objected to this relocation. And despite all of this, years of protest, years of resistance, Waco and Baylor began to relocate residents and knock down structures the year after, in January of 1960. So by 1963, the Waco Urban Renewal Agency had removed all residents from the Baylor University project and demolished all 272 pre-existing structures within that area. By the late 70s, the results of the demolition had evolved to 1,200 homes and 300 commercial structures across the city. That's a lot of people affected. This multi-million-dollar effort was to eliminate dilapidated buildings and improve the aesthetics of the city. This obviously affected homeowners and businesses, and they were given aid to help improve their properties or were completely moved to, and I quote, suitable and habitable conditions. Whatever that may mean. Why rhetoric is important? Because what do you mean by aid? How much was it? What do you mean suitable and habitable conditions? Were they not already existing in those? Anyways, we now know that this meant that they were forcibly displacing Hispanic and Black populations to East and South Waco without considering their votes. And that even included amidst all of this demolition, Jules Bledsoe. He is an iconic Black Wacoan composer and actor. He had his childhood home destroyed in the midst of all of it. And that is a piece of Waco that I really wish we still had. But with federal funds, Waco purchased lands from local residents, often at lower rates than the market value was, sold the property to the private university. Baylor eventually bought all of the acreage, constructed all of the classroom buildings, dorms, and faculty housing. And then the university's campus grew by 50 acres, and it still remains on the urban renewal land today. So Baylor built on top of pre-existing Wacoans, continued to spread throughout the years, and then ripped the rug out from under them, from profiting on their presence, just to build on top of another segment of Waco. I just want to we're going back to Baylor building on top of all of these Wacoans, building Floyd Casey, having all of these Wacoans profit off of them, building McLean on top of another section of Waco. Now all of these Wacoans are profiting off of them, but they kind of left all of these people in a hole. If you're curious, no, I didn't know any of this before coming to Baylor, before coming to Waco. So I don't blame them for not advertising that, because you kind of screwed over your city. Hey. So, I mean, with Baylor on this reconciliation train, why not just right all of your wrongs at once? Like in my PWR class, professional writing and rhetoric class, we had this community-based project where we served a local business with our writing talents. And my favorite professor, Dr. Dye, shout out, she shared that we have a civic duty to the city that has allowed us the space to be educated. And after learning all of this about Waco and Baylor, this history of the school and the city, I definitely feel the need to pour back into Waco, which is why I'm here and learning and sharing and doing all that I can within our community. So we're going to take another quick commercial break, and I will see you right after that.
When you view the glass half full, the little things become magical. Like kicking back and sharing laughs, spread good vibes, and they'll come back. Celebrate what you love with what you wear, even if what you love is kind of weird. Life is good in super soft tees that spark smiles and connectivity. 10% of profits go to help kids heal. So choose optimism and make the magic real. Visit lifeisgood.com.
What I love most about playing basketball is the competition. I really just like being shifty, mastering hesitation moves, changing direction, building chemistry with new teammates. If you're not having fun while you're playing, it's no point in playing the game. You know what to do. Escape Basic. Pair of Thieves quick dry underwear. It wicks away sweat and helps keep you dry. You looking forward to fishing season?
Let's unbox the all-new Walking Pad X21. It is the hottest thing on the fitness market right now. Whew. I like it. I like it a lot. Well done, Walking Pad. So after using the Walking Pad, I absolutely loved it. For the price, I adore it. I highly recommend it.
I've gotten a lot of questions as to where people can find the best supplements.
And that's why we have the Swell Score, because we have created this platform where our team of researchers and doctors have come together to bring top-notch quality supplements and information.
We make sure that if we are recommending a product, that it hasn't been reviewed by the same company that is producing that product.
Now we have a resource that we can do that.
Welcome back to Act Locally Waco. I know I've been on the Baylor hate train this morning. I'm sorry. Am I though? No, not really. I'm not going to apologize for that. I take it back. I loved my time at Baylor. I think that it's a great school. I think that it's good for Waco, but it could be better. It could very well be better. And I think that while we are, like I said, on this reconciliation train, let's fix the animosity between your institution and the city you're located in. How's about it? If you haven't gotten enough of me this morning or this week, you can follow me over to the Zach Owen Show, where I will bring you Nashville news updates and Act Locally news updates live. You can also find me on the Ann Harder Show. You can locate our Instagram at Act Locally Waco, and you can find our website at actlocallywaco.org. If you're sick and tired of my voice or my jokes, go read a blog. They're much more coherent and concise, best believe. But, you can double check me. Let me know what you like better. We put out a weekly newsletter known as the Whole Enchilada that gives you a list of events happening in our community, as well as some more commentary from yours truly. So go subscribe to that. Subscribe here on our YouTube channel so you can catch us every single morning and not miss anything. Go read up on some stuff and go do things in our community. Catch me out there. I love y'all. I'll see you next time.